Do you feel sometimes a sense of envy towards others who seem to live more freely or purposefully? It's not just a casual jealousy. It became really a nagging feeling that highlights something is missing on your own path, but you don't really know what. I felt the same way in my own career, until shadow work showed me it was a clue to my hidden desires. And doing this work led me to greater clarity and alignment. And today in this video, I will show you how you can easily get started with shadow work, which exercises work, and why it is so important for your own inner peace and fulfillment. So let's jump directly in and start by understanding what shadow work is. And many people scare away from shadow work because it comes with a lot of psychological definitions. And it seems quite abstract in the beginning. But shadow work is actually just about integrating the parts of yourself that you've pushed away, that you buried in your unconscious. And these parts that are not visible is what Jung calls the shadow. And we all have our shadow, and we're all living with our shadow. But the question is if we're really trying to understand it and to integrate it in our lives, or if we're trying to avoid it. So shadow work is based on Jung's ideas. And it's not something mysterious, and it's not even a form of therapy. It's more a form of self-exploration through everyday practices. So you don't need a mentor, you don't need a coach, you don't need a psychologist to start shadow work. You just need an open mind and a willingness to deal with yourself and the parts of you that you've locked away. But now let me put a disclaimer on that, because it sounds easy how I explain it now, but it's exactly this work with yourself that many people shy away of. Because dealing with yourself can be uncomfortable. But understanding yourself and understanding your shadow is a necessity for real growth. And I can tell you from my own experience, for me, it was a real game changer, because I was practicing and learning about personal development for many years or even decades. Since my early 20s, I'm interested in that. But shadow work really made the difference. Because most, or at least many coaching advices are merely life hacks, or that's just scratching the surface of things. But shadow work helped me to uncover what was really holding me back. And it became my go-to tool for real change. And I tested it through different experiences like journaling, like fasts, and like boundary experiences. And since there are many ways how to do shadow work, today I will share with you 5 exercises that clarified my own, not only career path, but my own life path, and helped me to make the important decision to quit my corporate career and to completely change the course of my life. And I can tell you that was the best decision I ever made. If you want to start with shadow work, here are a few recommendations. In the beginning, you don't need a lot of time for shadow work. Start small. Consistency is more important than intensity. If you start with 10-15 minutes every day, that's actually enough. That's better than doing 1 or 2 hours every week. And if you start feeling discomfort during the process, don't stop it there, because that's where the growth actually starts. So take one of the following 5 exercises and start it today. The first exercise I want to introduce is the so-called projection mirror. Now let's first understand what is projection. Projection is usually something, if we dislike something in other people, like a characteristic or a behavior, that's very often not so much that we dislike it in the other people, but this can be one of our shadows, traits that we buried. So let's take an example here. If you have a colleague that is very ambitious, and you judge him or her for being ambitious, the problem is not that this person is ambitious. The problem is also not that ambition per se is something bad. The problem might be that you're ambitious, but you don't allow yourself to be ambitious because this is a characteristic you learned over the years, maybe during your childhood, that it doesn't fit into your life. So you're suppressing this characteristic, and that's why you dislike it in other people. In the beginning, this exercise actually might be a little bit difficult, because usually we don't want to admit that we judge something based on our projections. But if you start honestly facing it and digging deeper, this can really shift your perspective. The first step in this exercise is think about the judgment that you have frequently towards other people, maybe towards a specific person, or also more general. And write down what this judgment is. And then ask yourself, what part of me is like that? What part of me behaves like that? Or in which situations do I behave like that? And start journaling on that. Write down insights that come up. Don't hold yourself back or judge what you're writing before you did it. This sometimes can be surprising, but it's usually eye-opening. And it is actually a very powerful exercise because it can reveal a lot quickly. So next time you feel a judgment, or maybe you have already one in mind, just do this exercise and see what comes out. The second exercise is the envy revealer. So envy per se isn't something bad, but it is a signal of your desires that you shadowed away. I, for example, envied people with free lifestyles before my shift. And this pointed me towards my unlived adventures. And it took me time to understand that, but it guided my actions. And that means today I'm integrating much more adventures and much more time and nature into my life. But the first step in the exercise is list down what you envy in others' careers or lives. And then start to explore why it resonates with you. And from there start to see, how does it connect to your hidden potentials? And don't stop at the surface. Really dig deeper. What would your life look like if you would have pursued that? And if you start to feel tensions, that's great. Because this starts to uncover what you truly want. The next exercise number 3, is the so-called I could never list. You know this kind of statements that we sometimes make? Like, I could never do this and that. These are very poisonous statements because they often hide conditioned limits on your potential. I, for example, thought I could never quit my job because I need the money, I need to feed my family, I need a paycheck at the end of the month, and I could never run my own business. We all have this kind of statements. So what are your I could never statements? And usually we also have more than one. So make a list of your I could never phrases. And then challenge each one with why not? Then suddenly you don't think in restrictions, you think in possibilities. And even if these possibilities are small, they trigger a shift in your thinking. And the next step is to reflect, where are these limits coming from? Are they coming from your family, from society, or from your relationship? And also here a warning, expect some resistance. Because in this exercise you're pushing the boundaries. And it's uncomfortable. But if you're shifting these boundaries, or if you even break through it, this will start your liberation. Exercise number 4 is the Sunday night dread analysis. And it's kind of a weekly habit. And it's based on the feeling that we have on Sunday nights, right? Before the new work week starts. If we feel some unease or some discomfort there, that's usually a body signal of suppressed misalignment in your work life. Did you ever notice such a feeling on a Sunday night when you're going to sleep, thinking about the workday ahead? So well, write it down and describe this dread or this feeling physically and emotionally. What happens in your body? What do you think about? What do you feel? And then ask yourself what this dread is suppressing. What are the connections to your job, to your career, to your boss? And this is an exercise you do over time. So you should also pay attention to patterns that repeat. Like, does it happen every week? Or what is triggering that? If you have such a Sunday night dread, this is a very powerful exercise for you. The last exercise I want to introduce today is the Autobiography edit. This takes a bit more time, but it's very powerful. So what you're doing is you rewrite your life story to spot and integrate the rejected parts. So be open, be honest, and write a short autobiography about yourself. And then highlight the rejections that you figure out. Which choices or decision do you consider wrong today? And the second step is rewrite your autobiography. And in the second version, you're embracing your rejections and focus on career implications. And then consider how integrating these rejections can change your future narrative and how it can change the trajectory of your life. Okay, now you can see these were 5 exercises that you can do easily to start your shadow work, to start your way of individuation. And you see, it's not something very sophisticated or something you need a psychology degree for. You just need to be honest with yourself. Now take one of these exercises, start with 5 to 10 minute sessions, and build a habit on that. And if you feel resistance, don't stop. Take a deep breath and continue. Because resistance is a sign of progress. And doing such exercises helped me to transform my career decisions, and it revealed my true alignment. And they helped me to move from dissatisfaction in a corporate career to a life as a world traveler and entrepreneur. So try one of these exercises today for your own clarity. And if you need more help with that, hop over to my website There you will find the Shadow Work Starter Kit. This is a free app that explains you and helps you with different shadow work exercises. And on top of that, it comes with an AI-powered dream journal and interpretation and the introduction to active imagination. So I hope for you that you also start your journey of individuation and that you find your true calling. And with that, I wish you a wonderful day.